Hi guys, the well-awaited part 2 of the period thing is here. The reason it took me so long is because I thought, well, I'll wait until I have quite a few questions and then I'll do a little bit of preparation on this video, because the last one was a little bit spur of the moment and I didn't really think about what I was talking about. So this time I have a diagram ready and I have some questions that you guys have asked me, and I'm going to try and add information in if I think it's kind of relevant. So first question I had was, can virgins use tampons? I definitely used tampons before I was not a virgin anymore. I never really had any problems inserting the tampon, apart from the whole when I got nervous thing, because as soon as you get nervous you tense up and then it's just not gonna happen. And like I said, I was using the applicator ones with the cardboard and it was a horrible experience, and that is just one thing I would tell people not to use. Now I don't struggle so much with them because I don't get as tense, but actually for a beginner, or actually for anybody, I would just say use the Tampax Compact, because honestly they're just so much easier to insert. So yes, two virgins can use tampons, but use the smallest size that you can to start with, just until you get confident, because the big ones are obviously a little bit trickier to kind of insert. How long can they stay in for? I mean the longest I would keep mine in for is 8 hours, and that's usually overnight when I'm sleeping. So yes, you can sleep with a tampon in, provided that you're kind of putting it in at the time you go to bed and you're kind of removing it 8 hours later. Most of the time I don't actually sleep for 8 hours anyway, so most of the time my tampon comes out before that. But yes, you can definitely use tampons overnight. In lots of situations I kind of wonder what in the world I would have done without using a tampon overnight, because, you know, if you go over to stay at a friend's house, or you're on holiday, or you're sharing a bed with somebody, you just, you know, like, a tampon is just the one thing that if you've got one in, you don't need to kind of worry about moving around and leakages and things like that. So yes, you can definitely use a tampon for up to 8 hours is the maximum that they say. But if you remove the tampon and you can still see a little bit of the white part on there, you need to go down to the next absorbency, because when you remove it there shouldn't be any white part left, because if you've got white part left you're using a much higher absorbency than you need, and that's where you can then develop sort of the TSS, so the toxic shock syndrome, which is basically, yes, if you're using a tampon you're at much more risk of it, but normally if it's because you're not changing it when you're supposed to, or you're using one that's too high absorbency. Basically it's where bacteria inside the vagina start releasing all these toxins, and it's usually down to kind of hygiene. So I would say if the tampon is coming out and it's got some white showing, you need to go down to the next absorbency. Even if it means you're changing them a little bit more regularly, you'd rather do that than overwear the tampon and then end up with this horrible disorder thing. So yes, it definitely takes practice to insert a tampon. I have got like a little diagram which I prepared for you, and I'm really going to be embarrassed if anyone I know ever sees this, but you know, if it just helps out somebody, then I think, you know, it'll be worth it for me. So basically a lot of people were like, okay, where does a tampon go, how do you put it in, and all this kind of good stuff. So I'm actually just going to go and grab a tampon, because I didn't actually think to use that. But I just have them in a little thingy over here. So I do have a tampon right here, and I'm going to actually show you like how, I mean, the kind of best positions I find to kind of insert them. But the first thing I tend to do is, look, basically, let me just move my camera down slightly. So have a stool like this, but imagine this is the toilet seat. So you kind of have your one leg on the toilet seat and then you kind of insert that way. The other way I find quite useful to actually do is to actually just squat. I know it's really unattractive, but you're in the bathroom by yourself, the door's locked, nobody's going to see this unattractive position that you're sitting in. So basically just get on the floor and squat and have your knees like really far apart, and then push the tampon in. So basically the tampon always goes in at an angle. So if this is your vagina, like say your vagina hole is like there, you always push up at an angle. So you kind of push the tampon up towards your back, like the bottom of your back and the bottom of your spine. You never push the tampon straight up, because it will probably hurt slightly, because your vagina is sloped up an angle. So when you're kind of standing like this with your thing, the tampon goes up that way, not directly up, because like I said, your tampon or your vagina is definitely sloped at like a 45-degree angle. So that's kind of the first thing I would say. Sometimes I would say if you're using one of these, take it out of the packaging, and then the thing that I find is like really easy and like foolproof is when you like pull that down to like get the tampon in, what you need to do is sort of get on the toilet with your one foot on the toilet and just like twist it and push it at the same time. And I find if you twist it and push it, it just goes up like a lot easier and it doesn't hurt, and you'll just find it kind of just goes by itself after you, like if you twist it and stuff. So I would say to me that's probably the easiest way that I found to kind of get the tampon in, is to twist and push slowly at the same time, but up at a 45-degree angle. So where do you insert this tampon? I hear you cry. So basically, that is my little diagram. Please no comments about my artistic skills, because I know I don't have any and I know like this really bad diagram, but I'm going to show you. So basically that is the clitoris. So that's like basically a whole bunch of nerve endings, and it's a little, you know, like pea-sized thing that kind of is at the top of your vajazzle. And then you've got like your pee hole, which you can't really see. I have to say it's like very, very hard to find it because it's just absolutely tiny. And then you've got the larger hole underneath that hole, which is basically your vagina, and that's where the tampon goes. And then you've got like your little bum hole. Just, I can't believe I said that. Then you've got your little bum hole underneath. So basically your vagina is between your clitoris and your bum hole, and it's somewhere there. And it's basically the only hole that your finger is going to fit inside, or the tampon. Bum hole, we just won't even go there because I'm sure people know where that is. So basically that's where it goes, and that's obviously a picture. And then look, I should probably like sign it, you know, just because I did it and it's artistic. And so basically that's what your bits look like. So clitoris up there, pee hole there, which to be honest you can't really see, and then your vaginal hole there, and then bum hole there. So that's where your vagina is. There is nothing wrong with having a little fiddle down there to find out where everything is. There's nothing wrong with lying there with your legs apart and looking at a mirror to find out where everything is. And if you kind of make a big stretch, you'll kind of see where your vagina is, and then it's hey ho, there we go. I had some more questions that people were asking me about. Just need to find them because my phone has a bit of a habit of doing bits and bobs. So basically what I do is on the first couple of days of my period, I don't like inserting tampons and all that kind of stuff when I'm at work. So when I wake up in the morning, if I'm on my period, I wear a sanitary towel and I will insert a tampon, and then when I get to lunchtime and I need to take the tampon out, I can just take the tampon out and I've still got the pad in, so I don't then need to faff around with putting tampons in while I'm at work, because you know it can take a bit of time, it can get a bit messy and all that sort of stuff. So I would say that's the best thing to do. And somebody asked me about white trousers and said, what is the best way to deal with your period when you're wearing white trousers? Number one, that's quite brave. And number two, do what I said, wear the tampon and the pad, and then just remove the tampon when you need to. Because if you've got both, you're just so much better protected, like I think. So if you're worried about just wearing a tampon alone, which I probably would be as well, put a pad in as well, and then I think you'll be absolutely fine for a good few hours. The blood doesn't just fall out. So, I mean, a lot of people are worried that if they haven't started their period just yet, the blood's suddenly going to start gushing out. Well, it really, really doesn't. So basically what you'll notice if you haven't had a period before is the first time you have a period, you'll go to the toilet because it'll feel a little bit wet down there, and you'll be like, okay, what's that? And if it's not discharge, it might be like a little sort of brownie sort of colour, and if it's like a brownie colour discharge, and basically you're about to start your period. It never just gushes out, so don't ever worry that you're going to be stuck in a situation. You'll always have time to go to a toilet and stuff some tissue in there if you need to. But I would say if you're around the age of kind of 11 or 12, I would be inclined to start carrying pads and things with you to school just to make sure. But it doesn't just fall out, so don't kind of panic that you're going to be somewhere it's just going to start coming out. It's not. It just comes out as like sticky stuff first, and then the second or third day it might be a little bit heavier, but it doesn't just gush out, so honestly don't worry. How to tell your mum that you're on your period. I basically didn't tell my mum for like my first 3 periods, but basically what happened when I finally plucked up the courage to tell her is she asked me if I wanted anything from the shops, and I went, yeah, can you get me some sanitary towels? And she went, yeah, that's fine. So I don't know whether she knew, but she didn't make a big deal out of it. She was actually quite excited, and then she rang all her friends and told all her friends. So actually I think mums generally get quite excited when their daughters start their period, because it kind of means that you're growing up and they get really excited. So don't be embarrassed, because your mum's really not going to really care, and she's probably going to be more embarrassed to ask you than you are going to be to actually tell her. And your mum's had her period, so it's not like she doesn't know what they are, and it's not like she's not expecting you. And if she's done your laundry and you've had a bit of a leakage, I'm sure she's probably seen it anyway. So I would say not really anything to worry about. But with my sister, she kind of got caught out, because I knew that she started her period because she told me, but she didn't know how to tell mum. And mum found like some pants in the laundry with a bit of discharge in it, so mum kind of knew that she'd started a period and just didn't say anything to her. So honestly, don't be embarrassed, or if you don't want to say anything to your mum, you don't really have to tell her. Like, as long as you go and buy stuff that you need yourself, it's not really a big deal. If you are suffering with like cramps and pains and things like that, I tend to find those little heat pads are like really, really good, because they last for like 8 hours, and they just a big sheet of like heat pad, and all you do is they come in like packs of 4 or something. You peel off the sticky back and you literally just stick it to your womb. So you just literally stick it, and then you pull your pants up underneath it, and it basically provides heat for like 8 hours, which is so nice when you're at work, because normally I'd have like a hot water bottle, and that's absolutely fine for me. The other thing I tend to take is Nurofen, like paracetamol, when I need to, but I try not to take it, because usually if I've got a bit of heat on it, it's absolutely fine. And generally I only get pain for the first couple of days, and a lot of people are under the impression that the pain is the bleeding, but actually it doesn't hurt when you bleed at all. Like, it's not the same sort of blood as when you cut yourself. It's not painful bleeding. It's just the fact that your womb is contracting, and that's kind of the more painful thing, really. And that, for me, only happens the first couple of days, and then after that I tend to kind of forget that I'm on my period, really. So not really anything to worry about. A lot of people ask me about sleeping with their period. Yes, I said as long as you use a tampon, you're fine. If you use a pad, just use one of those night ones, so just get something that's a little bit longer. Because to me they're absolutely fine. I get some tight fitting pants, so get like those like shorts that you can wear, like there's really, like, you know, like boys have like boxers. Try those kind of pants, because I think they really, if you've got something tight, you know the pad's not going to like slide around everywhere, and then you'll be fine. Swimming, yes, I've swam on numerous occasions on my period, provided that I'm wearing a tampon. You know, using a tampon basically means that you can do everything that you would normally do when you're not on your period. So using a tampon means you can go to theme parks, you can run around, you can jump around, you can go swimming, you can basically do whatever you need to do. So yes, you can definitely go swimming with your tampon in, despite what anyone tells you, because I've done it on numerous occasions and not had any leakages, any problems. Normally I'll put the tampon in before I go swimming, and then I will take it out after, you know, 4 to 8 hours, whenever I would normally take it out, and it's never ever caused me a problem, and I've never had any issues with it. How to insert the tampon is literally, as I said, basically slide the tampon in at an angle and just twist it. Start with the smallest ones possible, and start with these plastic ones. So they're called Tampax Compact, and they've got plastic applicator. If they're plastic, try it on the first or second day of your period when it's a little bit on the heavier side, because you'll just find it just slides straight in, and then as you build up confidence you can get to use the big ones. I mean, if you have to use these for the first few periods and actually you're changing them every 4 hours, in my opinion there's nothing wrong with that, because you're better off using these and changing them every 4 hours than using the big ones and not actually, you know, basically not actually using them properly, or them feeling uncomfortable, or replacing them every 8 hours or something. But at the beginning it's better to kind of use the smaller ones just to get confident with them, and then as you get more confident, if you find that you're getting a bit fed up of having to change it every 4 hours, then just go with a slightly bigger flow. I don't really have anything else to say on the period matter. If you guys have any other questions, I can't think of anything else that anyone has asked me, apart from things like the pain side of it. If you have irregular periods and you're a bit worried that you're not getting them every month, you can go and see your doctor. Most people's periods aren't consistent for about 5 years anyway, so if you're not getting regular periods, if you're getting them like every 30 something days or less than that, just go and see the doctor if it happens more frequently. Generally with very irregular periods I would go and see the doctor, because there can be things leading up to it that kind of can cause you problems later on. So I mean, if they're not regular within the after 5 years, then yes, go and see your doctor. Don't really have any other questions I think anyone has asked me, so I hope this is a little bit more informative, and if you have any more questions, I know I've had to cram everything into like 15-minute space because I don't really have any more time, but if you have any more questions, answer them below, ask them below, and if someone knows the answer then answer it, but if I can get back to you I'll try and answer as many as I can. So thanks so much for watching.